Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective. Welcome to everybody to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. I'm your host, Ray Flowers. Thanks for joining me here today. How you doing? You good? You still rocking and rolling in fantasy baseball season? Maybe you're looking at basketball and hockey. You're probably knee-deep in fantasy football. Well, don't forget, don't worry, don't hesitate. We got you covered here on the show. We got you covered over at FantasyGuru.com. We've got you covered at SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. All of these ways to get involved. I'm Ray Flowers. You can follow my personal work on social media at The Ray Flowers. You can normally find me here 4 days a week. Normally, Justin Frenchman hosts on Wednesdays, but he's away for the birth of his child. So I've hosted the last couple of weeks, 5 days a week. I'll be doing the same thing this week. Justin is expected to return next week on Wednesday. It's a Tuesday today. Tuesday is the day for Armando Marsal to join us. So he'll join us in about a half hour. We'll talk some football. Before we get to that, we'll talk some baseball. I'll throw the up on the screen here in a brief second what we're actually going to talk about today. But I just want to remind everybody, it's time. Let's go time. Season starts next week. Yeah, next week the NFL season starts. Still time to sign up over at FantasyGuru.com. So get over there, click that subscribe tab in the top right corner of the page. If you have any questions about the products, which one to sign up for, how does this work, send a note to support@FantasyGuru.com. Send that email, support@FantasyGuru.com. We've got draft books, we've got auction values, we've got rankings, we've got articles, we've got breakdowns, coaching breakdowns, offensive line breakdowns, position battle breakdowns, the running back by committee. The running back handcuff grid. Sorry, I forgot what I was talking about. We have a dynasty section. We have a best ball section. We have a rookie section. We've got PPR rankings, non-PPR rankings, dynasty rankings, rookie rankings, best ball rankings. We've got a draft book that's got half point PPR rankings. We've got a draft book that's got tight end premium rankings. We've got a draft book that's got super flex rankings. We got pretty much everything you need. Remember, if you sign up now, it is a full season product. So you get signed up now, you're good through the rest of the season. All year long with us at FantasyGuru.com. We will help you have success. Don't forget there's time. By the way, I'll throw that up on the screen now. There's still time right now to sign up for drafters.com. I think these codes are working. If they're not working, I apologize. You can always try Mans as well. But bottom line is, Drafters is not going to fill their contest. There's a lot of overlay there. We had a whole draft weekend with everyone over at FantasyGuru.com. I think there was a draft on staff like every hour for when the sun was up over the weekend. You can still get involved there over at drafters.com. All right, what are we talking about today? Let's throw it up there on the screen. Here's what the plan is for today. Baseball for about 25 minutes. Then football. We'll talk updates on the health situation of Kyle Bradish, Jacob Lopez, Jack Perkins. What had happened? What about Bryce Miller and Brandon Woodruff and Kodai Senga? Spencer Strider? What's going on with Spencer Strider all of a sudden? We'll talk about that. Cal Raleigh making history. Jackson Chourio getting closer to return. Zack Gelof is back for the Athletics. Masyn Winn, update there, and it's a good one. Colton Cowser, Matt Wallner, and Ben Rice. When we talk to Armando Marsal in about 25 minutes, we'll talk to him about the Amari Cooper signing. We'll talk to him about Jauan Jennings and what's going on with the Niners receiving corps. But we're going to spend a good deal of time talking about backfields. What are the Niners doing now that they have Robinson? What are the Commanders doing now that they don't have Robinson? We'll get a little bit more detail there. Cleveland, the Patriots, the Texans, Joe Mixon, the Jaguars, the Dolphins beat up. Achane and Wright are both beat up. And then Dallas, what's going on there with Jaden Blue being a little bit messed up with the ankle issue as well. So those are the ways that you can get involved in the football conversation. When I say get involved in the football conversation, remember 3 ways to watch the show live, 3 ways to ask questions and leave comments live. All 3 of these places you can always watch the show at any point on demand. YouTube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork, Twitter X @FantasyGuru site, Facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ. Also, 2 other ways to listen to the show. Those are the ways you can visually see it and leave those comments and questions throughout. You can always type in Fantasy Sports Daily wherever you listen to podcasts and pull us up. Just type in Fantasy Sports Daily. You should be able to find us there. And go to FG. Click the Elite Plus tab at the top of the page in the toolbar. And that'll take you to this show that's cataloged as well. Angelo said, Tommy Cutlets is gone from the New York Giants. Yeah, he is. They didn't want to keep 4 quarterbacks. Angelo said, in baseball, he's made 182 roster moves. Yeah, that's way too many. We're at what, season week 22, 23? So you're making 5-6 moves a week. Way too many, Angelo. My teams are 20-1 and 18-3. Well, you're killing it. You're killing it. That's a lot of moves. It's another reason why I don't like head-to-head, because your draft doesn't matter much, and what you do on the waiver wires this week doesn't matter much. You just go in next week. But bottom line is, Angelo, whatever you're doing is working. So keep doing it. I guess that's the moral of the story. All right. Let's look into this a little bit and have a discussion. Starting off with Kyle Bradish. Kyle Bradish is going to return against the Red Sox today. Lots has gone wrong with the Orioles. It's not been a season that anyone anticipated or expected or hoped for in Baltimore land. But the fact is that Bradish is finally going to be a positive story. Brandon Young strained his hamstring, so he's out of the rotation for now. Obviously, Bradish goes right in. And it's easy to forget how good Bradish was because it's been a while. Bradish is somebody that we can be looking at. Let me make a note here. Make a note for myself to remember next week. Bradish, because we're going to have the rankings updated one final time next week. The top 600 players or whatever players ranked at fantasyguru.com. By the way, I'm leaning heavily toward next year just doing the rankings all preseason and then in mid-year for baseball. I update the rankings and people stop looking at them 5 days later. So it's way. I spend 3 days to do rankings that are good for 5 days. It's just not worth it. So I think next year we're going to go just to preseason rankings, updating them all every day if necessary, and then just updating the rankings at mid-season versus every month. But we'll get to that next year. Kyle Bradish is back. The last time we saw Bradish on the big league mound was 2004. If you look at his last 38 starts, he's 14-7 with a 2.80 ERA and a 105 WHIP. Really good. Missing a strikeout inning. Last year in particular, his strikeout rate went up to 33%, which was stratospheric. I mean, that's elite from the 25% he was previously. So Bradish is available. If you want to pick him up, go for it. Very real chance he's a significant contributor down the stretch. Not starting him against the Red Sox, not doing it. So it's one of those things where if you add him, you got to be patient enough to let it play out. A lot of people aren't, but that's how I would play it personally with Kyle Bradish. We'll talk a little bit. We'll probably talk about him tomorrow here on the show too. Jacob Lopez, who we talked about last week. And then we talked about on Monday. He's been diagnosed with grade 1 flexor strain. All things considered, this is good news, I think, for Jacob. At the same time, he's not going to pitch again this season. I mean, it's possible, but he's not pitching again this season. So they're saying he could. I highly doubt it. He's been very, very effective this season. A flexor strain can lead to real serious issues that result in surgery. Maybe I'm wrong here, but if I had Jacob Lopez, he's already been placed on the injured list. So if you want to put him on the IL because you have room, fine. If you don't have room, at this point, you just can't count on Lopez being a contributor in the fantasy space, which is disappointing because he's done an excellent job this season, as we've talked about many times on this show. His teammate, Jack Perkins, has got a shoulder issue. He does not have a timetable to return. He went on the injured list last Friday with the shoulder issue. He's received a subacromial injection. Ooh, really fancy. And they will see. Much like Jacob Lopez, there is a possibility that he returns to pitch this year. Why? I mean, I highly doubt it, especially when we're talking shoulder issues. We've talked a lot about this. They've got an issue. Jeffrey Springs is in the rotation. His workload is really catching up to him too. We talked about him on Monday on the show. He's up to 145 innings. That's the most he's ever thrown at the big league level. The last 2 years in total, if we add in the minor leagues, 2023, he threw 16 innings. Last year, he threw 65. So roughly 80 innings the last 2 years. He's already at 145. JT Ginn, Luis Morales, Osvaldo Bido, whose arm we really like, whose stuff we really like. I think he's got to be in the rotation. Now, he's performed very poorly this season given the talent, but he's got to be in the rotation. Luis Morales, JT Ginn, Like the A's are in trouble in the rotation. They'll hopefully get Severino back here from a strained oblique in the next couple weeks, but they're going to be struggling a little bit to find some guys to fill in for those two Perkins and Lopez, who they've lost in the rotation. Bryce Miller, who we talked about yesterday as well. I talked about, I think maybe last week too. Returned and wasn't bad against the Padres. Gave up 4 runs in 5 innings. 4 of those innings were shutout innings. He had one terrible inning. This happens. It's frustrating when it happens because Miller's rolling along. Things are going really well. In the second inning, though, he gave up 3 home runs. So, as we said, adding Miller made sense. As we said, starting him against the Padres didn't make sense. As we said, pitching him next time out against the Guardians. So I think we're kind of in that spot. The good news is that his health is good. The velocity was good. He came out of the game and everything seemed pretty nice, right? So I think that we're trending in the right direction with Miller. Back to him being somebody that we can consistently look to use down the stretch. Maybe that starts with the Guardians in the next outing. Brandon Woodruff gave up 5 runs in 5 2/3 innings, and that is a catastrophic effort for Brandon Woodruff, given how good he has been, and he has been fantastic. I think he got the victory last night. Let me verify that. He did get the victory last night. So he gets the win. He moves to 5-1 in 9 starts, and this has been really remarkable for Brandon Woodruff. Obviously, the Brewers can do no wrong. Woodruff has got a 5.3 strikeout to walk ratio, which is fantastic. He somehow has less stuff than he did prior to his injuries, but his K rate is up. He's got a K rate of 33%, which is elite. The strikeout to minus walk ratio of 26.6%, elite, also career best. He's got a .87 whip. Now, batters have a .215 batting average of balls in play. We know that that's not going to continue. He's got an 83% left base percentage, which is really high. Hardly anybody ever, maybe 1 or 2 guys a year get 80%. So, okay. His 3.10 ERA, Sierra, XFIP, and expected ERA all supported. In fact, all 3 of those numbers are slightly below his actual ERA. So the bottom line is he's been terrific. Hasn't given up much hard contact, all that kind of stuff. More fly balls than ever. Less velocity, less quote-unquote stuff, but more success. It's been remarkable how good Woodruff has been. Tip of the cap. I mean, this has just been an absolutely excellent effort for him in his return to action. No one would have seen that coming. And if you did, Marsal because that was crazy. Okay, next up, Kodai Senga, kind of on the opposite end of things. Senga's back from injury and all that kind of stuff. He gave 3 runs in 4 innings last night against the Phillies. Walked 3 guys, and Phillies are a tough lineup to face. We talk about it all the time. But Senga, 8 starts since coming off the injured list. In the 8 starts, his ERA is 5.4, and he's got no victories. Is he pitching poorly? No. Is he pitching well? No. He's been fine. And, there are some pitchers, if they pitch fine, we're okay with that. It's not really what we expect here. Now, he's got a 2.70 ERA, which is grossly misleading. Because, again, we mentioned his ERA is over 5 since he's come back from the injured list. He's got a 22% K rate, which is 5 points below his career mark. It's slightly below the league average. His walk rate of 11.5% would be a 3-year high. Not that last year counts because he threw 2 innings or whatever the hell it was, 5 innings. But his K rate is let's say it this way. He's lost strikeouts. He's added walks. Terrible combination. His 81.5% left on base percentage, again, that's a very good and non-sustainable long-term number for him. So we're missing fewer bats. We're putting more guys on base. There's a likelihood of the runners that are on base scoring a little bit more. He's got a very fortunate 9.6% home run to fly ball ratio. Like, his stuff is there. And that's the positive with him, much like Spencer Strider, who we'll talk about here in a second. The stuff is there. Can he put it all together? And right now, it just doesn't look like he can. So Kodai Senga is not someone we run from. He's not someone we drop. We just have to lower our expectations at this point of the season. Expect solid work, not top-end work. Maybe we'll be surprised and things will change. Speaking of things changing, Spencer Strider is somebody that we've talked about on the show many times. Spencer Strider is someone that we talked about in Discord many times. And he has not been good, especially here in the second half. He's had blow-up efforts. He's really struggled, all that kind of stuff. So last night against the Marlins, he goes out and goes 7 innings, gave up 1 run and 3 hits, and all was right in the world. Now, this is a really fascinating story. He averaged 95.4 miles an hour on his fastball, which is a good mark, of course, but it's actually the seventh lowest mark in 18 starts this season. So he did not have top end velocity last night. It's lower than his average effort this season. So what happened? How did he have all the success? Interestingly, and this is fascinating, players obviously have personal coaches, and they've always had, personal coaches and all that. This has been the way of sports forever. Why is it? Let me ask a question. It's kind of troubling if you're a major league team. Why is it that Spencer Strider can't figure out exactly what's going on here and how to fix it? The Braves can't quite figure out what's going on and how to fix it. Spencer Strider goes to a private throwing group last week, and he comes back and does what he did last night. If I'm a major league team, I'm an owner of a major league team. I got, billions of dollars in this organization, and my star pitcher is going to an outside source to get coaching. Again, I'll applaud the player. I'll applaud Spencer Strider for going and doing that. But I got to look internally and be like, what am I paying you guys for? This guy needs help. He needs fixing. You can't figure it out, but some dude that he drives an hour and a half down the road to talk to does. Now, the biggest change that happened is, and follow me here, this is fancy math and all this kind of, the induced vertical break on his fastball. So basically the life on his fastball, the hop on his fastball. And this is something we've talked about. His fastball had been very flat, hadn't been grading out stuff plus, had not been grading out well. The rise, the lift on his fastball that made him such a dominant strikeout force and dominant pitcher prior to injury and surgery had gone down. Okay. He was under 16 inches the last 2 months of induced vertical break. Back in 2023, when he was a star, it was 18.4 inches. And it doesn't sound like much, but that's a lot, especially when we're talking about a fastball up. Getting that carry, keeping that ball up versus having it dip into the hitting zone, it's a big dip. 2 inches, Major League Baseball, 1/8 of an inch is huge, right? 2 inches is significant. So the last 2 months, the number's been under 16%, hadn't been able to figure it out. He goes to the think tank off-site, and the number's back to 18 inches last night. So this is really interesting. Now, he faces the Phillies on Sunday, and this is a huge test because we have talked about recently a lot. The Phillies, no, you don't want to pitch to the Phillies, right? I'm still not starting Spencer Strider in shallow leagues against the Phillies. If you're in a 15-team league, have at it, right? But in 10 or 12-team leagues, head-to-head leagues, really tough to use Strider and feel confident about that. But he did look much better last night. He got all that success despite the velocity being so ho-hum. If he can keep the 18 inches of induced vertical break and get 1.5 miles on his velocity comboed, then we got Spencer Strider of old. So we'll see down the stretch here, but this is fascinating. And again, it's a storyline to follow because, again, offsite works, but not in-house. Interesting. Cal Raleigh, to give him some shouts out here as we talk some offensive players before we visit with Armando Marsal in about 10 minutes. And someone said in Discord this morning, it's like, who would have predicted 50 home runs for Cal Raleigh? And the answer is absolutely nobody on the planet. Because it would have been impossible to predict this. Even at the All-Star break, I think I said 52 home runs for Raleigh. Now, maybe he gets hurt. Maybe he goes in the toilet in September, but it looks like he's going to blow past that number, right? It looks like he's going to hit 55, maybe 60 home runs. And it's just been damn impressive. He's up to 50 home runs. Second year in a row, he's had 100 RBIs. It's actually been, so now he's gone 30, 100 in 2 consecutive seasons. He's hit 30 home runs in 3 consecutive seasons. And he just continues to impress because he's also stolen 14 bases. So we have a catcher with one more steal is going to go 50-15. Pudge Rodriguez went 30-30 years ago as a catcher, right? 50-15 is in play here, absolutely in play for Cal Raleigh. Cal Raleigh, who, by the way, entered this year with 7 career steals. He's doubled that number, obviously, this season. He's got 100 fewer at-bats than last season. He's got, 70 fewer plate appearances than last year. And he's already got more runs, more RBIs, more steals. He's only hitting 247, so if we want to quibble with something, sure. but the walk rate has never been better. His walk rate, in fact, has gone up every season of his career. 5%, 9%, 9.5%, 11%, 13% this year. So his walk rate has improved every single season, which we love to see. Still not a big batting average guy, but 247 would be a career best. He's got a 353 on base percentage, which is 40 plus points above his career mark. He basically really struggles just to be league average in on base percentage, but this year he's over 350. He's been terrific. He's obviously pounding the baseball. 350 isolated power mark is monstrous. Exit velocity is the same as last year. Hard hit rate's the same as last year. Barrel rate's up a little bit, but really he just continues to lift the baseball. 20%, 21% the last 2 years, 25% this season. So shout out to Cal Raleigh, who's got 50 home runs. And don't think he can't hit left-handed pitching because he obviously he's a switch hitter. He's got 20 home runs and 157 at-bats against lefties. He's got 30 home runs and 328 at-bats against righties. This guy hits hitting a home run every 10 at-bats. I mean, it's even slightly better than that, right? So he's been terrific. He's continuing to get it done. And there was a patch there recently where, he had a rough 10 days. But he's making history right now at the catcher's position. Next up, Jackson Chourio's got the hamstring injury. He's going to stay this week, it seems like, to find his groove down at AAA. Now, with the Brewers winning so many games and playing such good baseball, there's really no rush to get Jackson Chourio back, right? In some other scenarios, maybe they'd be pushing to get him back. Now they just want him to get healthy because they're streaming toward the playoffs and all this kind of goodness here. So probably next week, we'll see Chourio back at the big league level. That'd be my guesstimate. The question at that point in time is, what does this team do? Isaac Collins or Blake Perkins? How do they figure out which one of those guys goes to the bench full time? Don't forget Rhys Hoskins is working his way back from injury. How is this going to play too? Because Andrew Vaughn has slowed a little bit here the last 10 days, but he's been fantastic since the Brewers got him. Brewers are about ready to get healthy. They're about ready to welcome back a perennial 25 home run guy in Rhys Hoskins and welcome back their best player in Jackson Chourio. And they're still killing it without those two guys. It's been so impressive. But both Isaac Collins and Blake Perkins have done a very nice job. Both of them have slowed here of late. Collins in particular has really slowed down here of late. He's probably the guy that's going to be on the outs with Jackson Chourio returns next week. We'll continue to monitor that. But keep that in mind. If you've been using either Collins or Perkins, playing time is going to start to dry up a little bit with the return of Chourio. Though I think Chourio is obviously the story. Zack Gelof. Disappointment. He was somebody that, if you think way back to February, Gelof was somebody I was like, look, no one's in on this guy. I get why they're not in on this guy. He's got holes in his game. He hit 211 last year. Like, all this is legit. He almost went 2025 as a rookie last year. And it was very reasonable to look at him and say, things go right. He goes 2020 this year. Now, maybe he's hitting 225, right? But he goes 2020 this year, 75. Well, he's currently got 2 hits and 29 at-bats in the big leagues. He's been awful this season. He's had multiple injuries this season, and it just hasn't worked. Now, at the same time, in 47 games at AAA, scored 46 runs, 12 home runs, and 12 steals. So obviously, that's a 150-game pace to go 30-30. Look at the numbers here of late. In his last 33 contests down on the farm, since he was demoted after doing nothing when he was promoted, his last 33 games, he's got 11 home runs and 9 steals. So that's a 50-40 pace over a full season. Oh, by the way, his OPS is 900. So the bottom line is Gelof is somebody that has done nothing this season. He's not somebody that we can look at to be a leader down the stretch, but power and speed up the middle in the month of September. There's no reason for the Athletics not to play Gelof every day. They let Ortiz go. So I would anticipate Gelof playing every day, probably hitting toward the bottom of the order, probably not producing a batting average, but power and speed could be there. And as we're noting here, he has killed it recently down in the minor leagues. Masyn Winn, who we talked about yesterday with the knee issue. The good news is that the MRI that they ran showed no significant damage. Just like Winn said, he's playing anyway. He did play last night. So JJ Weatherholt, the promotion of Weatherholt to the big leagues is now on delay or a little bit longer. He could still come up in September when the rosters get expanded. Maybe Nolan Arenado, who's starting to make some steps in his recovery moving forward, maybe he never quite makes it back and they bring up Weatherholt and put him at third base. We'll see. But for those people that added Weatherholt over the weekend, wondering about Masyn Winn and whether his knee would be okay. It looks like that's not going to pay off in the short term. Colton Cowser, we talked about yesterday, who I added him in Tout Wars. If you missed that, you can always go and catch episode 471 on demand. I had a home run, 3 RBIs, had 3 hits yesterday. And Cowser, all of a sudden, again, we talked about him on the show. Just wanted to point him out one more time, because if he was on the waiver wire in my league, which is 15 teams, he certainly is on the waiver wire in a bunch of leagues out there in the real world. His overall numbers include a 719 OPS, which is terrible, and he's hitting 225. His last 8 games, he's driven in 8 runs. He scored 4 times, hit 3 home runs, batting 290 with a 940 OPS. So, again, the last 8 games, he's got an RBI game. He's hit 3 home runs. He's stolen the base, and he's got a 940 OPS. And remember, there was a period of time last year where he had a month where he was a banger, right? He was an absolute banger last year. He's going to play every day down the stretch here. He's going to probably be a significant contributor, and you might want to check the waiver wire because Colton Cowser's in a nice groove right now, and it would not be surprising to see that continue the rest of the way. Finally, a couple other names here. Matt Wallner hit 2 home runs off Max Scherzer yesterday. Scherzer got the victory, if I'm not mistaken. But Wallner is killing it. Now, the interesting thing with Wallner is he's got those home runs here of late, and he might be in Ray's Plays, DFS article over at fantasyguru.com today. He's got 19 home runs and 32 RBIs. Obviously, he's not hit very well as runners in scoring position because he's driven himself in 19 times with the home runs. But you look at him since the start of last season, and that's 32 home runs in 159 games. And if you look at his numbers against lefties and righties, he is an absolute platoon option. There is no way around that. He's not going to play against lefties. If he plays against lefties, he's not going to be very good, but he can hit against righties. In fact, his career slugging percentage against right-handed pitching is .538. His career isolated power mark is .283. You do that all season long, and you're an all-star every year. Now, again, it's limited because he's not going to face lefties and so all that, but he is in a little bit of a nice groove right now. He's powering the baseball right now. Matt Wallner, for those of you looking for a little bit of a power boost. And then finally, Ben Rice. Ben Rice has been up. He's been fantastic. He's been down. He's been average. But at the end of the day, Ben Rice qualifies at catcher. He'll qualify at both catcher and first base next season. He's playing consistently here, even with the mixing and matching that the Yankees have to do with Stan and everything. They're doing their best to play Rice pretty much against all right-handed pitching, just like we were talking about with Wallner a second ago. Rice against right-handed pitching, 359 on base percentage, 490 slugging percentage, the same 238 isolated power mark. I think that's what Wallner was. So he's been very, very effective, has Rice. And, it's one of those things where let's look at his numbers in August, just to pull them up real quickly before we talk some football with Armando Marsal. He's got a 984 OPS in August, 984. He's in a really nice groove right now, obviously part of a very impressive lineup with the Yankees. So no one's going to go get Ben Rice off the waiver wire. I'm aware of that. But I will say that it's pretty damn impressive. His second half numbers are a 916 OPS. He started out tremendously well. He was average in May. He was bad in June. He was average in July. But he's been spectacular in August, which is really nice to see a young player, right? Finding their footing and returning to prominence after the league kind of makes the adjustment and figures them out. Rice has made the adjustment back. It's the battle of adjustments between hitters and pitchers. So there's our baseball talk for today. We'll do that again tomorrow. Tomorrow's a Wednesday, so Rich Mileto should be available to join us. We'll talk some football with Mr. Mileto. Making a note on that, so don't forget to contact Rich because it would be difficult for him to get on the show tomorrow if I didn't ask him to come to the show. But it's a Tuesday today, so let's get to where you all want to be today. On Tuesdays, Armando Marsal joins us. He is the host of Mind of Marsal. You can find his podcast and this podcast by going to fantasyguru.com and clicking the Elite Plus tab right at that top of the page in that toolbar. You can find him in Discord answering questions. I saw him answering questions this morning. You can find him on the live stream oftentimes on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. He's obviously writing articles, getting prepped and ready for the 2025 football season, which starts next week. Armando Marsal at fantasyguru.com. How you doing, Armando?
I'm doing good, Ray. I'm pumped, man. The season's right around the corner. I got the season schedule ready, planned out behind the scenes. So I'm looking forward to there's going to be tons of content on the site, for the season. So it's going to be a fun year, man.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Because, we all know the football season's coming, and maybe it's different from everyone's perspective is different. I'm like, damn it, it's next week. Like it's because I'm doing all this baseball stuff and everything, but it's like it's tight, and the next 10 days are going to be extremely busy for all of us. But it's an exciting time because how many times can you answer a question? Do I go running back, wide receiver, quarterback? Do I go wide receiver, running back? How many times can you answer the building question? We're about ready to move on for that, and I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Yeah, now it begins. Do I start this player or this player? Like we basically are just transitioning from who we're drafting to who we're starting or sitting. Right. But yeah, I am looking forward to it. It's always a good time of year, always a good time. But like you said, it's funny because my son asked me, it's baseball playoffs already. I'm like, man, everything is flying by. Baseball playoffs are right around the corner. The NFL season's right around the corner. I mean, it's flying. It's flying.
It is. And we're going to continue flying with the information here. Armando visits us again every Tuesday at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. We had a lot to talk about. There's many storylines we could play out or discuss here, but I thought we'd spend most of our visit today talking backfields. The running back grid is updated over at fantasyguru.com, so if you want to know who the handcuffs are and all that, you can look there. But there's a lot of unsettled situations, and I wanted to talk to you about a variety of those. Last week we had Jauan. I think the Brian Robinson news happened right as we were on the show, but I wanted to dig in a little bit deeper here with the Niners and the Commanders backfield. Let's start out in San Francisco here. We heard from Shanahan, hey, I love Brian Robinson, love this guy. He's our number 2 running back. I'm assuming at some point McCaffrey gets hurt. Whether it's 1 or 2 games, whether it's 8 or 9 games, I'm assuming it's going to happen. So A, is Robinson the handcuff for you to McCaffrey? And B, what do you think happens if McCaffrey goes down? Because I look at Brian Robinson and I'm like, you got Isaac Guerrero there, can hit a home run on any touch. You got Mr. Plotter there in Robinson. I kind of think there'll be a little bit of a shared scenario potentially with Guerrero in the 2-minute drill and also catching passes on 3rd down.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Ray. I look at this situation as very unsettled, right? Someone asked me on Discord, and that was my exact, answer. I'm like, it's just unsettled. It really is a gray situation. I believe when you look at the depth chart, there's no secrets. It's Brian Robinson, number 2 on the depth chart. That's official. The coach said it, Shanahan said it. Like we know that. But I can see this where it plays out as some type of committee if Christian McCaffrey were to miss time, or they could ride the hot hand. We've seen that before out of this backfield at times where they ride the hot hand because someone's dinged up. Guerrero is often dinged up as well. So for me, I look at it as if I'm handcuffing, it'll be Brian Robinson, but I'm not doing it very, comfortable. I'm not excited for the because I just don't expect that he's going to be the 1B1 replacement. I think it's a very gray situation. I do think some form of committee will occur.
The Commanders, again, obviously we talked about this too, but I don't know if we got more information, more clarity here, but here's what we got. McCoskey, Bill, whatever.
Bill. Let's call him Bill. Let's call him Bill.
Everyone is, I was listening to Sirius XM last night. His ADP's, he's up to like 30th at the running back position. Like it's flying up draft boards. The problem with this is that we've heard that Rodriguez is going to be the short yardage and goal line back. Okay. We know that Jaden Daniels will run a little bit at the goal line. Okay. We also heard that Austin Eckler is going to be our pass catching back. Okay. So is Bill just touching it between the 20s? Like, is this Donta Foreman too? Like, is this excitement warranted? What are you doing with this backfield?
And let's not forget, they also have Deebo Samuel, who can be used in the red zone.
Good point.
As a runner. So we have that as well. This is one of those situations where I think what they did with their last preseason game, where they had Eckler and Bill sitting out, I think it's pretty clear that that's going to be their 1-2 punch there. I don't see Rodriguez being a major threat to Bill. But I do think that there's going to be some frustrations when it comes to Bill, because of what we talked about, Deebo Samuel. They are going to use Austin Eckler inside the 20-yard line as well. At times, Jaden Daniels is going to run. But I do think that Bill has earned himself, opportunities in this offense. I think it's going to be, a situation where he's getting 70 or 80% of the opportunities out of the backfield. No, I think more maybe that 50, 55. And there's going to be weeks where he's, below that 50 mark, I think, truthfully. So, I'm viewing this as a committee, essentially, between Bill Eckler, where Rodriguez every now and then might come in the goal line situations, but I don't see him being a major threat to Bill.
Marsal of fantasyguru.com. He's wearing a fantasyguru.com shirt because he's a company man. So you can find the link there to the store if you want to get some swag. fantasyguru.com/selfi.store. Next situation to talk about. What is going on in Cleveland? And correct me if I'm wrong here. I don't think Quishon Judkins is signed yet. I still don't think he signed a contract. We got a report from The Athletic yesterday that he could still end up being suspended for the off-the-field stuff, the domestic stuff. So it's Dylan Sampson and Ford in week 1, but how is that touch count going to break down? Is Judkins going to get involved here? Are you expecting a suspension? Sometimes people ask questions and I'm like, I'm out. Like, I'm just out. Like, I don't know who the quarterback's going to be in week 6. I don't know who's going to be catching passes. I certainly have no idea. I'm just out. Everyone's trying to find. Some people have to know, right? So give them the answer, but I'm just out personally.
I think you give the best answer, right? Like, that is the answer, right? Like, just out. So, no, Judkins hasn't signed. They did release Pierre Strong earlier, like about an hour ago, if that. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's a sign of things to come for Judkins. You mentioned there's a possible suspension. Hasn't been getting much, like, work. Like, I'm out. Like, that's the truth. Like, if you want an early investment, it would be Ford. Like, that's who, if you're looking for someone, help at the running back position, let's say you went 0 RB and you waited late and that's who you ended up. You might have to start someone like Jerome Ford if you're looking at this backfield. I think Sampson and Ford will be, the 1-2 guys here early on. And it's just a matter of it. I want to say when Judkins signs, right? Like, right. I want to, but at this point, I'm not confident to say when. It's if he signs, and then we go from there. It's going to take time. Remember, one of the biggest things when it comes to these younger running backs is pass protection, and it's getting the plays, it's timing, all of that stuff. And if he hasn't been able to get the reps with the team, he hasn't been doing any of that.
Yep.
He's going to be way behind, right? So it could be, even if he signs and he gets suspended for 3 weeks, it could be 6 weeks before we really see him get going. So keep that in mind. You have to be patient with these situations. So for that reason, I'm like you. I'm just simply out. I maybe have some Sampson in some best ball situations just for whatever reason, but in redraft, I don't want to have to make that decision on a week-to-week basis.
On Twitter X, you can follow him at Armando_Marsal. It's Armando Marsal of fantasyguru.com. The Patriots, Trevion Henderson returned to kick for a touchdown, and his ADP went up like 20 spots the next day. And I heard Ted Schuster on the Elite Sports, I think it was Friday last week, say, everybody, starting running backs don't return kickoffs. They generally don't. Ramondre Stevenson, according to some people, is useless. According to the more astute people, I think they realize he's going to be involved here. So talk us through this situation. I'm not suggesting that Henderson isn't the preferred option. He is the preferred option over Stevenson for me. But this is not going to be 19 touches for Henderson and 4 for Stevenson. At least that's not how I'm reading it, Armando.
It's funny, right? Like a couple of years ago, Stevenson was that guy that everyone wanted to draft, and now he's useless. I agree with you. I think over the course of the season, Henderson is going to lead this backfield in opportunities and fantasy points. Sure, absolutely. I have him ranked that accordingly on the site as well. But I don't think it's going to happen right off the bat. Like, I don't think it's going to be that way. I do think there's going to be a committee here early on, and I think it'll be a matter of time before Henderson runs away with it. But if you're expecting 19, like you said, 17, 18, 19 touches in week 1 from Henderson, I just don't think you're being realistic with expectation there. So I think more in that 10 to 12 range, and then you kind of see that increase week to week, maybe like 11 to 13, and maybe by week 4 he's at that 15 to 17 mark. And I think that's going to be his mark. Like, I really do think that so long as Stevenson's healthy, I do think Henderson's mark is going to be in that 15 to 17 range as far as opportunities concerned. But that's going to be enough for him to return value. Very explosive player. We've seen that. And I think he complements Stevenson really well too. So I think that you have to, be mindful. I think complement each other really well. So really depends on situation. I think sometimes you're going to see who's getting used and who's not in this backfield.
Did you know that he returned a kick for a touchdown? I'm just asking because that's the only one talks about.
Well, he did have. I think one. I also think he had one huge explosive run that everyone was talking about on Twitter.
There was one in practice. Yeah, right. He caught a ball in the flat, and the defensive player didn't have a good angle. Yeah. And he's so fast. Every running back is fast. Anyway, what's going on with the Texans? Like this one, Joe Mixon was hurt but going to be okay, and then it was he's hurt and we're not sure, and now he's hurt and he's out the first 4 weeks. He's been placed on the reserve non-football injured list with the ankle injury. We've heard a lot of reporting here. Great reporting, 10 days before the season began. I don't know where it's been the last 3 months. heard a lot of reporting the last couple of days here that, Mixon's had a really rough recovery here. He's tried a bunch of things. He's done some alternative medicine. Like all of a sudden, this went from he'll be okay to what are we doing here? Because it's going to be Nick Chubb, it looks like, on early downs. Marks is there. Maybe he sprinkles in as a pass catcher. You got Dameon Pierce, who at moments has had. What are you doing with this backfield? We have a lot of hopes for the passing attack, but now the rushing attack of the Texans is really up in the air.
Yeah, so, I mean, Nick Chubb is going to be the week one starter. If you're looking at things the way that they are, that he's going to be that week one starter for the Texans. I think, is he the same running back that we were drafting a couple of years ago? No, he's not that same running back. I mean, it's very difficult to view him as such, given all the injuries he's gone through here. But he is going to get the opportunities. I think Dameon Pierce is also going to get some opportunities here. But I believe that Woody Marks eventually will overlap Pierce in the depth chart. He's someone that has good hands out of the backfield. He can catch passes at the backfield. So I do think it's going to be Nick Chubb and then Woody Marks working as the pass catching back there. That's the way I'm viewing this playing out here. And I'll probably be invested in Woody Marks. I was asked the other day, would you stash? I think it was Woody Marks or Rodriguez. I kind of feel better about Woody Marks. As far as Joe Mixon's concerned, this is one of those situations I'm completely staying away from at this point because, like you mentioned, it was, he'll be all right in a week. No, he's not. And if he's had issues in the recovery process, like this could linger even further than that month. Like, maybe he's not right. This might be an incident where in a couple of weeks you're talking about, he needs to undergo another procedure to fix what's going on here. And it might continue to. If you're looking for the starter here, it's Nick Chubb. I think he'll be the early down back. And I do think Woody Marks will be that change of pace back for this backfield.
Not Dario Ogunbowale. I think he's still there.
He's still there. Yes,
he's still right.
He's still there. That's the thing. Like, I do think they're all going to be involved, right? Especially early on.
Right.
But if we're looking at it like a long-term lens, I would stash Marks here from this bunch.
Armando Marsal of fantasyguru.com. His podcast, Mind of Marsal, can be found if you go to fantasyguru.com and you go to the top bar there at the page, click on the Elite Plus tab. You can find his podcast. You can find this show. Find Jeff Mann's show, Justin Fensterman's show. Check it out over at fantasyguru.com. We've talked about one of your home state teams multiple times with the Jaguars. This one, there's an article, there was a report from John Shipley of Sports Illustrated saying that, the Jaguars are going to try to trade Bigsby or Etienne. Trading running backs, the Niners just did it, so I can't say it doesn't happen, but it doesn't happen very often. No one's paying much of anything, I don't think, at this point. I don't know. I mean, everyone's excited about, Michelle Tootin, but for now, he looks like the third back. Etienne, I think, is someone you said all along would be the guy you would choose. He'd be the guy I would choose. I'm not buying the report they're going to trade him, but, what do we got going on here with these three guys? And is this going to be a messy scenario early in the season?
No, I think they're straightforward. Like, I don't like drafting based on speculation. So I'm drafting based on things the way they are. And right now he's the running back in Jacksonville. I believe he's going to be the primary running back in Jacksonville. I've said it all along. That doesn't mean it's going to be a 70% opportunity share there. No, it's a 50, 55, sometimes 60. I think that's what we're going to see. I think it's going to be him and Bigsby early on. I think Tootin eventually will work his way into that, number two role, really. And you could see a full-blown committee there with potentially at weeks using three backs. We've seen this before from Cohen, right? So, but Etienne is the running back I want to own. Etienne is the one I'm drafting. He has an 8th, 9th round ADP, depending on where you're going. That's not that expensive. And I think he's going to get at least 50 to 55% of the workload early on. So yes, I do expect this to be a committee. So keep that in mind, but I do think he'll be the head of that committee.
Armando Marsal of fantasyguru.com. Next up, Miami, another team in your home state. This one is Achane. We think he's going to be ready for week one, but clearly he's been missing some practice time. He's not at 100%. Jalen Wright certainly started camp as the number 2 guy. Now he's being considered week to week with the left leg injury. We basically heard he's not playing in week one. Ollie Gordon is somebody that people have been getting excited about. You and I have talked about Ollie Gordon previously as well. Where do we stand now? Is Ollie Gordon now the handcuff? Is Jalen Wright now just not, you're not interested because of the health situation? Are both Wright and Ollie Gordon guys you'd take a chance on? Because Achane's already beat up. Like, this probably is Achane and he's Alvin Kamara this year and there's no problem. But it's messy right now.
Yeah, it's very messy, and we've talked about the type of injury that HN is dealing with. That concerns me, right? Like when it's the lower leg and the calf and all that with these running backs, for me, it's concerning. So I am concerned about HN. Expectations are that he might be ready for week 1, but we've seen so many mixed reports about that as well. Like there was reports that say he could miss up to 3 weeks at one point. So like we don't know with his status right now. We did get word that Wright is expected, or I think he's already been ruled out for week 1, if I'm not mistaken. So he's out in week 1. So this might be Ollie Gordon in week 1. So right now, if you're drafting today, yeah, it's Gordon to be that early, season handcuff, because we don't know how much time Wright's going to, miss. Once Wright's healthy, I think he will be the handcuff. And I'm still taking shots on Wright, someone I still like late in drafts. And especially if you have an IR spot, like the way I would do is wait, draft, put him in the IR spot, and then just add someone else here in free agency. That's what I've been doing in my home leagues and my season-long leagues and redraft leagues. I've kind of stopped with the drafting of best ball of Jalen Wright, but simply because I don't like to, invest when I know someone's already going to be out. So, but I have plenty of exposure to him. But I do expect him to be the handcuff when he's back on the field. But early season, week 1, it is going to be Gordon.
Armando, with the Cowboys situation, we've all expressed to some level of interest in Jane Blue. Jeff Mance has been very vociferous about how he thinks that Blue's running style, the system he was in college, the system he's in with the Cowboys now, all fits. And so we're excited. Blue suffered an ankle sprain. It's been kind of an uneven camp for him. He's got an ankle sprain. There's been positive reports about him, being a really good teammate and really trying. There's been reports about him not trying. I don't know. So it's kind of been all over the place and again, he's a rookie. But it does look like Blue is not going to be at 100% for week 1. We have not heard he's been ruled out or anything like that yet. But it's likely that even if he's the guy with Dallas, it's going to be a slow burn, right? Because there are still, Javonte Williams is still there. Sanders is still there. I'm assuming right now that Williams is the guy to start in week 1, but I'm still in on Blue long term. How do you see the situation in the backfield with the Cowboys?
I view it exactly the same way. I'm viewing Williams as the early season guy, maybe the first month, especially with the, Blues dealing with the low ankle sprain. So it could be some time. So I'm viewing Williams as the early season running back here for the Dallas Cowboys. That's the one you're probably going to be, starting. But again, this goes to another scenario where I expect Blue over the course of the season. At the end of the year, I think he's going to be the lead back here for the Cowboys. I think he's going to be the running back with the most fantasy points. He'll be the running back with the more opportunities here. So I agree with you. I'm looking at Blue as someone that if I'm drafting, I'm going to be patient with. I'm not going to cut after week 2. I'm not going to cut after week 3. This could be a 3 to 6 week situation where there's going to be some form of committee in Dallas. And eventually I do think Blue will see the majority of those opportunities there. But again, the fact that he's, dealing with an injury, probably not going to be able to play a lot, practice a lot with an ankle sprain. That's going to take away from a rookie, and we talked about that with Henderson. We talked about with some of the other rookies with Judkins. So nothing changes for me. It's Williams early on. Over the course of the season, I want to be invested in Blue. I view a situation where you can invest in both running backs because I think it's going to be pretty straightforward early on in the season as well.
Marsal at fantasyguru.com. Eric I's got a question, and I'll say it this way. He asked, who's a better stash, Kendry Miller or Emmanuel Wilson? And I don't mean this to be at you, Eric, because this is the 753rd time I've got a question like this in the preseason. Everyone, you're doing it wrong. You're all doing it wrong. Randomly grabbing running backs doesn't work. Because when you're at this level of running back, Emmanuel Wilson, Kendry Miller, what you're asking, Eric, is who's going to get hurt? And which backup running back do I want? Handcuff your running backs. Okay, that's priority number 1. Priority number 2, if you're going to make this decision, understand the decision, whether it's Wilson or Kendry Miller, could change in week 2. You're going to have a position on your roster that's cyclical. You're going to make 18 moves at this position. You're going to make a move every week, right? And you're probably going to be wrong every week. So understand that. We'll answer your question because this question does come up a lot. But Armando, again, I think everyone's doing this totally wrong. They're trying to pick off random just running back. Which running back, 61 or 72? The Saints situation, Cam Akers has been released. They released Clyde Edwards-Helaire this morning. So it looks like Kendry Miller's got a very good chance, he and Neal, to support Kamara. Emmanuel Wilson's in a backfield in Green Bay where, they can't keep anybody healthy behind Jacobs. You had to make the answer. If you had to answer this question for Eric, which direction would you go?
It'll be Wilson for me, but they're bunched up in the same tier, if we're being honest. But it'll be Wilson because he has the direct path right now behind Jacobs, who's coming off a season with a lot of touches. You can say the same for Kamara, but I'd rather be invested in the Green Bay offense than the Saints offense at this time. I feel like there's just a stronger foundation there versus in New Orleans.
Am I wrong about, and I'm not looking for you to agree with me. If you disagree, please disagree. This question comes up every day, over and over again. And it's like, I really do feel, Armando, that people are just asking you to predict who's going to get hurt. And I can't predict that.
Yeah, I mean, this is why I like context, right? With questions, because I feel like it gives us a better perception, a better picture of what we're actually dealing with. Because like you mentioned, this Eric's handcuffs could all be in waivers right now, and he can be choosing one of those instead, right? We're giving two players. We don't know what other running backs like. There might be other running backs out there that are better than the two running backs. Like, so I just feel like the more context we have, the better. But yeah, I prefer if it's a clear-cut handcuff. I like the idea of handcuffing. If you're looking to add, bench pieces, depth pieces, I think it's okay to look at, random running backs who you think are the next man up. I'm assuming that that's what Eric is doing here. He's looking for depth pieces at the running back position. He probably has neither of the starters.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I don't know roster. That's why I love roster context. Like,
isn't it tough though? Because like
this is tough though.
It is because let's say Eric goes at Henry Miller now, and then in week 1 someone gets hurt. Now we're running. Jaden Blue blows his ankle out, so now we're running to pick up Miles Sanders, and then Miles Sanders sprains his ankle in week 3, and we're going to running back 4 week. Like we're just doing the hamster wheel.
Yeah,
and if people are okay doing that, and I guess they are, because this is what Eric is doing, is what everyone does. I mean, this Eric is the norm for this, right? This is what people do. It's just really frustrating because then you and I end up answering questions every single week, and we recognize the names and the question. It's which running back this week, which running back this week, which running back this week, and it just, I would love for people to focus more directly on which offensive scheme do I want to be involved in, which offensive line. You write about the offensive line, which offensive line is going to be there to support the running back versus just trying to randomly pick off. So maybe that's part of the concern I have is people should be saying, well, which offensive scheme is best? Then let's figure out which backup running back is best versus, hey, running back 63, running back 71, running back 82, go. Maybe it's just me and I'm just being a jerk. Who knows?
No, well, that's why I said Wilson, because like we're looking at two guys in the same tier, in the same situation, I guess you can say, as far as where they're at in the depth chart, their opportunities, etc. And I'm going with the best situation. Now, you do bring up a great point, right? Like this shouldn't be a revolving bench spot now. Like this is not, you're not adding this player to drop him for the next hot thing. Like that is the one thing I feel like that is the important part of this, right? Like if you're stashing means you're adding and you're stashing that player. You're not going to drop him next week to get the next hot waiver wire commodity, that comes up, the one, whoever it is. Like you don't do that. It shouldn't be a revolving seat in your bench. Like I do agree with that, because if you're stashing. That means you're holding on. That's what stashing means. It's not 1 week.
By the way, Eric says he's handcuffed his top 2 running backs. So
yeah,
way to play it, Eric. Way to play it. Let's talk about a couple of wide receivers before we end the visit here today, Armando. And 1 point, this guy played in the Bay Area. The 1 point, still the guy in the other spot plays in the Bay Area. Amari Cooper, who we've all wondered, why is he on a milk carton? Like what? This guy is just not around. He goes to the Raiders. Now, in theory, this makes a lot of sense. They've got Geno Smith, who's a very competent NFL quarterback. They've got, a couple of rookies that they were going to be looking at the wide receiver position to have significant roles. And while that can work, Jacoby Myers apparently is not happy with his contract and wants to get paid. And there's even rumors he might get traded. Someone asked me this in Discord. Don't make moves based upon what could happen in the trade market. I think that's just a losing direction to go. If the Raiders trade Jacoby Myers, they're giving up. Like, unless there's something really bad going on they can't give up Jacoby Myers. He's their number 2 pass catcher. They brought in Amari Cooper. Your thoughts?
I think he's going to be in a position to get good opportunities early on. Like or just in general, like he's 31 years old, so temper expectations. But I do think, especially if Myers gets traded, and again, I'm not here in the business of speculating where he's going to get traded or not. Like he's on the team right now. If you look at the pecking order, it's Bowers, Myers, Genty, then it'll be Cooper. But if you remove Myers from that, now you got Cooper as potentially the 3rd guy in the pecking order. I think it's a good move from a football perspective because you're bringing a veteran receiver on an offense and on a team that has a lot of young pieces around it, right? So I think he's going to be a good locker room guy. I think he's going to be helpful. Do I think he's going to be fantasy relevant? I think there's going to be some moments. I just don't know if it's going to be consistent, especially if Meyer stays on the team. But I do think that in PPR, he's someone that's going to be able to give you, those 8 to 12 fantasy points a week, and eventually, maybe some weeks 15, 16, 17 fantasy points. But again, not someone I want to go in and rely on. I think if you're doing Raider stacks in best ball, you can include them in your Raider stacks now. It's not costing you anything. I think his ADP went, from undrafted to like 216 or something that I think I saw this morning. So he's still going towards the end of each draft. So yeah, I don't expect a huge fantasy impact, but I do expect a good impact from an NFL perspective there.
Marsal of fantasyguru.com. What about the situation here with the Niners? We've all been trying to figure out what's going on in the receiving core here with Brandon Ayuk out injured to start the year. Jauan Jennings is obviously the huge piece. We've talked about great connection with Purdy. He knows the offense. He knows how to block. The coaching staff loves him, all this kind of stuff. He's had a calf issue. He's missing practice yet again with the calf issue. This is like the second time this has been an issue. Apparently he wants to get paid. He's not happy with his contract, so they're dealing with all that nonsense. There have been reports that the team might even put him on the IR to start the season, which could cost him 4 weeks. It's like, I don't know. I don't have an answer. You don't have an answer. We don't know. But how are you playing this situation? Is Pearsall now flying up for you? Is it you're still expecting Jennings to be a big thing in the first half of the season? How are you handling this situation with the Niners?
Jennings was someone that was very high on my board early in my process, and this uncertainty, the calf injury, I mentioned calf injuries to me are terrifying. So I'm a little bit hesitant now when it comes to Jennings. He's someone I was investing early on. So I have my investment already done with him. If I'm drafting now, I probably would be looking at it, as your wide receiver 3-4 range. I wouldn't want to go with a wide receiver 2, Jennings, because there's just a lot of uncertainty that injury is a concern. But I'm still going to be taking some shots because I do like him. I do think that if he's on that field, he's going to be very impactful. I think he's going to be very efficient. We saw firsthand what he's capable of doing when he's that number one guy there for them as the receiver. As far as Pearsall is concerned, he's been jumping up everyone's draft boards. You're looking at his ADP is starting to climb. I think if Jennings is out, you're going to see Pearsall be a PPR machine there. But the one guy I always kind of gravitate toward, I've been saying this all offseason, is George Kittle. Draft George Kittle. I think George Kittle is going to have a monster season here for the 49ers so long as he's healthy. But yeah, Jennings' situation is very, very difficult to read. It really is. There's a lot of red flags, including that injury. So for me, I kind of backed away a little bit, Ray. Backed away a little bit.
What are the odds that the Niners are just terrible? I think Jeff Mans was talking about in the preseason, like their win total, their future was like 10.5 wins. They lost half their defense and everyone on the offense is hurt. Is there a chance that this just goes horribly wrong in San Francisco this year?
I think there's a chance for that. Yes, I do think because I think they're very thin, right? Like if McCaffrey goes down and if you lose Kittle, who he plays through a lot of injuries. Like Kittle's a tough player. He plays through a lot of injuries. Like you have uncertainty with Jennings right now. Brandon Ayuk, we know is going to miss time. I mean, you're thin. Like you're very thin. The offensive line is there's some issues there. This is a thin offense. So, yeah, I'd be concerned. You need a lot of things to go your way, I think, this year for the 49ers to hit that over of what is 10.5, you said?
I think it was, yeah.
I feel like a lot of things have to go right for them for that to happen. It's a tough division too. Like Arizona got better.
Yep.
Seattle, they're going to compete. It's tough. It's tough.
Armando Marsal of fantasyguru.com. We got next week, the season begins officially. What are you doing between now and then? How are you prepping for this? What should the folks be expecting starting on Monday next week?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of fantasy football drafting. That's for sure. I'll be on. We'll do a drafter, so I'm going to get a ton in before the start of the season. No, but we got a lot of content, so I'll be preparing for week one. Obviously, I already started kind of digging into the DFS stuff, so we'll be doing that. I got a podcast coming up this week. And then just a ton of content next week, Ray. We got all the week one content. We got the DFS stuff. We got the season long. So looking forward to all of that as we do it each and every year. So you'll see it, next week we're going to have the same content layout sheet that we had at the homepage where it shows you everything that you're going to be seeing for the week. So we got that. We got live streams. We got the roster. We got the roster coach. We're gonna have the Sunday live stream. We got a ton of content there for week 1. So really looking forward to that, Ray.
He's Armando Marsal of fantasyguru.com. Again, you can find his podcast. Go to Elite Sports. Go to fantasyguru.com. Click the Elite Plus tab at the top of the page. You can find his show there. It's too many names and situations, Armando. I'm surprised I don't screw that up more often. But yeah, Elite Plus tab at the top of the page. You can find this show cataloged and Armando's podcast cataloged as well. Armando joins us every Tuesday at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time to do what we did today, and that is to talk some football, and we'll plan on doing that starting in week 1 next week with him as well. So Armando, thanks for your time today. We appreciate it. I see the smile. I see the happiness. Season's about ready to begin. Good luck with your drafting before then, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
You got it. He's Armando Marsal. I'm Ray Flowers. We'll be back tomorrow. I'll be here with Rich Miletto, hopefully joining us at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time to talk some football. The first half hour of the show starting at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We'll do baseball. So just like we do every day, Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time here on Fantasy Sports Daily, we help you win in fantasy sports. For Armando, I am Ray. This has been Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com.